Hello everyone. Let's start with a fun observation. Have you ever been told, "Oh, you look just like your mom"? Or maybe, "That laugh is exactly like your dad's"? Pretty common, right? Nature has this beautiful way of carrying forward traits, almost like photocopying, but with a twist. Now, think carefully. Breathing keeps you alive. Eating keeps you alive. But is reproduction really necessary for you to survive? Not at all. If you don't eat, you can't live. If you don't reproduce, you'll still live your normal life. But here's the catch: without reproduction, your species would vanish after a single generation. Gone. That's why reproduction is special. It's not about keeping one individual alive, it's about keeping the line of life unbroken. It's nature's way of saying, life must go on. Okay, now imagine you're trying to build a Lego model. What would you need? Without that manual, your design would be a total mess. Well, inside living organisms, that instruction book is DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. DNA is like the ultimate recipe book stored in our chromosomes. It tells cells which proteins to make, and proteins, in turn, build everything: muscles, enzymes, even your hair texture. Cool, right? So when reproduction happens, this DNA has to be carefully copied and passed on. Without the blueprint, the next generation wouldn't know how to build itself. And here's the interesting part: if even one tiny letter in this book changes, the protein can change, and that might lead to different traits. That's why even though children resemble their parents, they still have their own unique features. Look at this DNA double helix. This twisting ladder is literally the secret code that makes you. Alright, but how do cells actually copy this magical book? Let's take a closer look. Inside the nucleus, the cell uses a clever set of chemical reactions to replicate DNA, making two identical sets. It's like a scribe copying every single page of a massive book. But wait, just giving out a copied book isn't enough. You also need a new library to store it. That's why the cell builds additional structures so both DNA copies can function. Finally, the big moment comes: the cell divides. One parent becomes two daughters, each carrying its own DNA and all the little organelles needed to live. This is why even a single bacterium, like E. coli, can multiply into millions in just hours. Look here at binary fission in amoeba. One cell simply splits into two. Isn't it amazing how life doubles itself with such elegance? Now comes the million-dollar question: are these copies really perfect? The answer: nope. Think about it. When you try to copy notes in a hurry, don't you sometimes make tiny spelling mistakes? Similarly, DNA copying isn't flawless. Small errors creep in every time. Scientists call these variations. What do? They make offspring similar, but not identical, to parents. So while you may have your mother's eyes, you might also have a unique dimple that neither parent has. That's variation at work. Of course, if the error is too big, the copy just won't work, the cell may die. But most variations are harmless, and some are even useful. Look at this figure. Notice how one daughter cell is a little different from the other? That's nature's little twist in every copy. Now you might wonder, if mistakes happen, why hasn't life collapsed by now? The truth is, these so-called mistakes, variations, are lifesavers. Imagine this: you and your friends are wearing the exact same color t-shirts on a sunny day. If a paintball fight breaks out, guess what? Everyone becomes an easy target. But if each of you were different colors, at least some of you would escape easily. Variation works the same way for species. When environments change, temperatures rise, water dries up, or disasters strike, most individuals may not survive. But those with just the right variation, like heat resistance, manage to live and reproduce. For example, in warming oceans, most bacteria die, but a few lucky heat-resistant ones thrive and carry on the population. Look at this diagram. You'll see how, as conditions change, only the variant bacteria continue. That's survival through variation. Here's where the story gets even more exciting. Variations don't just stop at one generation, they pile up over time. And when these variations accumulate, they shape entire species. That's called evolution. One of the most famous examples is the peppered moth during the Industrial Revolution. Before pollution, light-colored moths blended with tree bark, staying safe. But when soot from factories darkened the trees, those same moths stood out and became dinner for birds. Meanwhile, darker moths survived because they blended in. Slowly, the population turned dark. That's natural selection in action. So remember this, variation is not just random noise. It is the raw material that evolution sculpts into new designs of life. Just look at this image of moths on clean and soot-covered trees, the difference is crystal clear. Isn't it incredible how small changes can rewrite the fate of a species? Let's quickly tie everything together. Reproduction is nature's way of copying DNA, the blueprint of life, to make new individuals. But these copies are never perfect. Variations always sneak in. And guess what? These variations aren't flaws. They're the secret weapon that helps species survive tough times, adapt to changes, and eventually evolve into something new. Look at this flowchart. DNA copying leads to variation, variation allows survival, and survival drives evolution. So the next time someone says you look like your parents, remember, you're not an exact copy. You're a unique variation, and that uniqueness is exactly what keeps life thriving on this planet. Isn't biology just amazing? Until next time, keep wondering, keep questioning, and keep appreciating the beautiful science of life.